The story breaking today has ignited intense debate across media circles, entertainment insiders, and longtime royal watchers alike, after a bombshell claim resurfaced under a headline that is already sending shockwaves through the internet. According to Megyn Kelly, one of the most recognizable voices in American media, Meghan Markle allegedly stole a creative vision that was first discussed decades ago, then quietly reshaped it into her own narrative while denying its true origins for years. What makes this allegation explosive is not just the accusation itself, but the emotional weight behind it, the timeline involved, and the suggestion that a once promising professional relationship was permanently damaged in the process. If you found this report insightful, take a moment to reflect on how celebrity culture shapes health trends and why responsible conversation matters. Please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for more in-depth coverage that goes beyond the. In a revealing account now circulating widely, Megyn Kelly claims that long before Meghan Markle became a global figure tied to royalty, activism, and high-profile media deals, the two crossed paths in a creative setting that planted the seeds for what Kelly describes as a shared vision. According to Kelly, this idea was not casual small talk or an offhand brainstorming moment, but a serious concept discussed with intention, ambition, and mutual understanding. Kelly alleges that the vision centered on a media-forward platform designed to blend influence, storytelling, and personal branding in a way that was ahead of its time. Kelly says that at the time, the concept felt collaborative, rooted in trust, and full of potential. She has suggested that she viewed Meghan as someone curious, eager, and attentive, absorbing ideas and perspectives from those around her. What Kelly now claims, however, is that years later she watched elements of that same vision reappear publicly, but without her name attached and without any acknowledgement of their shared origins. According to Kelly, this realization did not come all at once, but gradually, as projects, interviews, and branding decisions began to echo what she believed had once been a joint idea. The allegation that has drawn the most attention is Kelly's assertion that Markle not only adopted the concept but also actively reshaped its backstory, presenting it as something entirely self-generated. Kelly claims this wasn't a simple case of creative overlap or coincidence, but a calculated rebranding of an idea that had been discussed in confidence. She has alleged that the denial of this shared history continued for decades, effectively erasing her role and leaving her to watch from the sidelines as the concept evolved under someone else's name. From a news perspective, it is important to note that these claims remain allegations. Meghan Markle has not publicly responded to this specific accusation, and no legal finding has established wrongdoing. However, Kelly's account has struck a nerve because it taps into a broader conversation about originality, intellectual ownership, and power dynamics within media and celebrity culture. When one person rises to global prominence while another remains outside that spotlight, questions naturally emerge about who controls the narrative and whose version of events becomes accepted truth. Kelly has reportedly framed the issue not only as a professional grievance, but as a deeply personal betrayal. She has suggested that the experience altered her perception of trust within creative partnerships, especially those formed before fame and influence shift the balance of power. According to Kelly, watching the vision play out publicly under a different name felt like losing a piece of her own professional legacy, one that she believes could have taken a very different path had it remained collaborative. Supporters of Kelly argue that her long-standing career and reputation lend credibility to her account, pointing out that she has little to gain from revisiting a decades-old story unless she felt compelled to set the record straight. They argue that the media industry is filled with quiet stories of ideas borrowed, repackaged, and rebranded by those who later gain access to larger platforms. In that context, Kelly's claim resonates as an example of a broader systemic issue rather than an isolated dispute. On the other side, defenders of Meghan Markle caution against accepting a single narrative without corroboration. They point out that creative concepts often evolve independently across different people and eras, especially in industries driven by trends, branding, and cultural shifts. They argue that without documented proof or contemporaneous records, it is difficult to distinguish between plagiarism and parallel thinking. From this perspective, the allegation risks becoming another chapter in the polarized discourse that frequently surrounds Markle. What makes this story particularly compelling is the timeline Kelly references. The suggestion that an idea could be carried, reshaped, and publicly denied for nearly 40 years adds a dramatic dimension that few media controversies possess. If true, it raises uncomfortable questions about how long creative ownership can be obscured before someone feels empowered enough to speak out. Kelly appears to suggest that the passage of time, rather than dulling the pain, sharpened it, as she watched the idea reach heights she once imagined under very different circumstances. Industry analysts note that this controversy arrives at a moment when audiences are increasingly skeptical of polished origin stories presented by public figures. Viewers and readers alike are more willing to question narratives that once went unchallenged, especially when they involve branding, authenticity, and personal mythology. Kelly's account feeds directly into that skepticism, inviting audiences to reconsider how many celebrated ideas may have more complex backstories than initially presented. As with many high-profile disputes, the absence of direct dialogue between the parties has left a vacuum filled by speculation, commentary, and intense online debate. Some commentators have suggested that a private conversation or mediated clarification could resolve lingering questions, while others argue that the issue has moved beyond personal resolution and into the realm of public accountability. For Kelly, telling the story appears to be less about reconciliation and more about reclaiming her version of events. Whether this allegation will prompt a response from Meghan Markle remains to be seen. Silence, in cases like this, can be interpreted in multiple ways, ranging from strategic restraint to quiet dismissal. For now, the story continues to circulate, fueled by clips, headlines, and heated discussions across platforms. What is clear is that the claim has reopened old questions about authorship, recognition, and the hidden histories behind public success. As a news report, the significance of this story lies not only in who is involved, but in what it represents. It underscores the fragile nature of creative trust and the long shadows cast by unresolved disputes. It also highlights how power, visibility, and time can reshape narratives in ways that are difficult to challenge until someone chooses to speak out. Now we want to hear from you. Do you believe Megyn Kelly's account raises valid concerns about creative ownership, or do you think this is a case of overlapping ideas amplified by fame?